2012, Marvel Studios did the impossible. They brought together a group of superheroes who had debuted in their own films into the Avengers, making not just a good movie, but also the third highest grossing film of all time. And today we're going to talk about what's in store for the next 2 or 3 years of Marvel Cinematic Adventures. My name is Devin Faraci, and this is Badass Digest. This is what happened. So Kevin Feige and the guys over at Marvel decided what they wanted to do was create a shared Marvel universe in the movies. One of the great things about Marvel Comics is that these characters all inhabit the same world. So Spider-Man can be swinging through the streets of New York City and come across the Fantastic Four. The X-Men can go out for Chinese food and they can meet the Avengers. And this is sort of the joy of this large, shared, evolving world. But it's something that we never thought we'd see in movies. Marvel, not realizing how big superhero movies were going to be, had sold off their characters to different studios. So Iron Man was over at Sony, and Thor was over at Relativity, and everybody was all over the place. Over a couple of years, they accumulated most of the characters who were known as the Avengers. Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, and the X-Men remained away from Marvel Studios, but many of the core characters came home. Iron Man 2, Captain America First Avenger, Thor. In the Avengers, they finally all came together to face a threat, and as far as I'm concerned, the history of superheroes and movies would totally change. Now it's post-Avengers. What's next for Marvel Studios? Well, Phase 2 is beginning. The first film of Phase 2 is going to be Iron Man 3.
Nothing's been the same since New York. You experience things, and then they're over.
Iron Man 3, we've been told, is going to be much more of a standalone movie. While the previous Iron Man films had heavy involvement with the agency known as S.H.I.E.L.D. as a way to bring the Avengers together, what we are going to see is some real fallout from the events of the Avengers. Tony Stark, who's a guy who was always an egomaniac on his own, discovered that he needed to work with a team, and more than that, discovered a world beyond his wildest imaginings in cosmic interstellar space. So now in Iron Man 3, he's re-examining who he is and what it means to be Iron Man in this world. But meanwhile, he's going to be facing a new foe, the Mandarin. When he was introduced in the 1960s, it was a very different world, and the Mandarin was this extravagant Chinese guy who had a Fu Manchu, and he had 10 rings of power that he got from a crashed alien spaceship. He was one of Iron Man's very first villains, and he pretty much represented the communist peril of China. The world's changed a lot since then. For one thing, the racist caricature of the Mandarin is just not going to fly in the movies. For another, Iron Man 3 is being co-produced by China, so all of a sudden having the Chinese as an enemy isn't exactly as kosher as it was 40, 50 years ago. This is going to be one of the most exciting parts about Iron Man 3, is sort of figuring out who this character is and where he's going. Each Iron Man film has seen Tony Stark introducing new armors, one part to fulfill different requirements of the story, another part to sell more toys. This time, deep space armor has been rumored. The big theory is that taking off from the Earth at the end of Iron Man 3, Tony's going to meet the Guardians of the Galaxy. They're Marvel's 2015 entry into Phase 2. Most people have never heard of them, and they're kind of weird. So putting them in at the end of Iron Man 3, which is going to be one of the biggest movies of Marvel Phase 2, makes a lot of sense. It gets audiences ready for this strange new addition and gets them anticipating what's coming next in Marvel Phase 2. Coming after Iron Man 3 is Thor The Dark World. The first Thor, not my favorite of the Marvel movies. I thought that tonally it was all over the place. I didn't think it quite worked, but there was the groundwork laid for something really interesting. This time, it looks as though Thor is going to be taking much more time in cosmic alternate dimensions as opposed to spending time in a tiny New Mexico town. In Thor The Dark World, we're going to see Malekith the Accursed, leader of the Dark Elves of Svartalfheim, one of the 9 realms of Asgard, in some way bringing war to Thor and the Asgardians. In the comics, Malekith's done a bunch of really crummy things. He's been interested in the past in the Cask of Ancient Winters, which played a pretty big role in the original Thor. My guess, though, in previous comics, Malekith the Accursed has teamed up with a fire demon named Surtur, who's this 90-foot-tall fire monster. Makes a pretty great finale for a movie, I think, to see Thor battling a 90-foot giant. We also know for a fact in this film we're going to see Algrim the Strong. In the comics, Algrim the Strong was this mighty elf who battled Thor. He was thrown into a pit of lava and died, as they do in comic books, but he eventually came back. He came back as a different character named Curse, who was even stronger than before. Early reports indicate that both Algrim and Curse are going to be in Thor The Dark World, so it looks like possibly we're going to see this character maybe die in the beginning of the film and come back stronger than ever in the second half. Beyond that, it's sort of unclear what we're going to see in Thor The Dark World. Loki returns, the mainstay villain of the Marvel Universe in movies so far, and I'm sure we're going to see Jane Foster again, Thor's love interest, who mysteriously missed out on the Avengers. And that brings us to the end of 2013 as far as Marvel Phase 2 is concerned. But we've just begun to scratch the surface. 2014 and 2015 are going to bring us Captain America the Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, and the Avengers 2. We're going to be back again next week talking about these films. In the meantime, subscribe right now so you don't miss the next episode and the continuation of the discussion. And comment below. Let me know, who are your favorite Marvel characters? What have been the best Marvel movies so far? What characters do you hope to see in Marvel Phase 2? Me, I'm rooting for Black Panther to show up. Who's the character that you think most needs screen time? I'm Devin Faraci, and this is Badass Digest.
Watch Ariane Celeste as she tests your knowledge of Star Trek and reveals a lot more than answers. Uncle Al and Jack debate the identity of Bigfoot aliens as Tom Cruise fights to save the world again. Gray Drake gives you the top 10 animal movies for fans of fuzzy fauna. Ben Lyons and Devin Faraci conquer Sundance, bringing you all the latest news. Get your film fix. Subscribe to CineFix.